Yo, Han here. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back. This is going to be my final video of this year just because, December is hella busy. And embarrassingly enough, I didn't really listen to too many full-length albums this year. So what I'll do to compensate is to shout out all the awesome EPs and albums that came out among my circle of musician homies. First up, we got my guys in Animal Boy and their EP Curse. We got Toronto's own APB and their EP Late Love. My guy Average James released his album This Is Absurd. My friends in Courtyard also gave us their self-titled EP. My brothers in Excuse Me released their long-awaited second album called The Light. The Last Armada gave us their kick-ass EP called Fang. My friend Laura gave us her stunning EP called Out of Water. My dude Seago dropped his album called Silver. Shebag gave us their album Music Is the Answer because, music is the answer. And last but not least, I gotta show myself some love and shout out my album Surrendering Sunday. Yeah, please go check out those amazing projects. And without further ado, here are my top 5 albums to come out of this year, 2024. Starting us off at my number 5, we got A.CHAL and his absolute banger of an album, ESPÍRITU. Yeah, my brother Joey actually put me on to A.CHAL and this album earlier this year, and I gotta say that this might be one of my brother's best put-ons. Yeah, from the jump, we got an opening track like Trujillo that has A.CHAL rapping over this like cyberpunk type beat. It sounds like something straight out of Arcane and the Spider-Verse films. And then this same level of energy is kept on through the following tracks like Donatella, Walk on Everything, and the semi-title track Espíritu. As hype as those tracks are, the ones that stand out to me the most are the slower cuts, most notably a cut like the song Trust. I just find that A.CHAL's vocal performances are a lot better in these type of songs. They allow him to mesh and ride the beats in a more precise way. Yeah, with that being said, my favorite track on this album is actually the closer called Psycho. I love how straightforward and Empire of the Sun-y the drum beat is. I love how guitar driven it is. It sounds like if I were a Skate 3 character, I'd definitely have this in my ear skating down the spillway or something. Yeah, like my number 1 and number 2 picks, Espíritu came out earlier this year, and because of how early it came out, it just kind of set the tone for my listening experiences throughout all of 2024. So this album's great. It's an energetic and fun listen. Yeah, A.CHAL, Espíritu. This year was a big jazz year for me, and one of the main reasons for that is because of my number 4 pick, Roy Hargrove's Grande-Terre. Grande-Terre or Grande-Terre, like in a French accent? I don't know. Funny enough, this album was actually recorded back in April of '98, which is both the month and the year that I was born, and for whatever reason it was only released this year. Yeah, and like I said in my last video, one of my favorite songs to come out of this year is the second track on this album, A Song for Audrey, but the rest of the album is just so beautiful as well. Songs like Kamala's Dance, B&B, and Lullaby from Atlantis are just super smooth, and they really showcase Roy and his ensemble's expertise in the Latin jazz area of things. And then the slower cuts on the album, like Another Time in Ethiopia, are just so rich and so effortless, and they really accentuate the musicianship that's going on here, but in a different way, in a way that's not busy or show-offy. Of course, one thing to note is that Roy has since passed away back in 2018, and though I'm never really an advocate of posthumous releases, especially those coming from major labels, I can't deny how much I love Grande-Terre and everything that comes with it. I will say, however, that this isn't my favorite jazz album to come out of this year. That would be actually my next pick, which we will be getting to right now. At my number 3 spot, we got Kosmos and their self-titled record, and like I said earlier, this is my favorite jazz album to come out of 2024. Kosmos is a jazz quintet from Poland, and I'd say a lot of their sound is very much derivative of obviously traditional jazz music, but also like hip-hop, trip-hop, and even some factions of like electronic EDM type music. Yeah, for instance, like the opening track has this like sick oscillating synth pad thing that sounds like it's straight out of a Alejandro Jodorowsky film. Yeah, and then it goes immediately into this sick bass line that's played on the upright. Immediately, that just sets the tone, not just for the rest of the song, but for the rest of the album. All the song titles here are in Polish, so I'm not going to ruin the video by butchering all the names, but I think that works in my favor because in the best way possible, none of the songs stand out individually to me. They all work as this cohesive unit, which makes for a stronger album. It has this like smoky, venomous tinge to it that I love so much. I mean, yeah, the aforementioned like synth pad elements do change up the color and the tone of the album quite a bit sometimes, but I think the overall scope of it is very much like a black and gray leathery type feel to it. Of course, I'm mainly attracted to the rhythm section here because the drums and bass are just swaggy. But of course, I got to shout out the piano and the horn sections as well. Melodically, they just make the songs sound so much more fuller than what you'd imagine to come from a 5-piece band. Kosmos and their self-titled record is just it's awesome. It's my favorite jazz record to come out of this year. They only got 400 plus monthly listeners on Spotify, so please go support them and check them out because they make amazing shit. Holding my silver medal, we got everyone's favorite album, To Start in the Dream Police by everyone's favorite artist, Mk.gee. I honestly don't know what else I could say to add to the discourse surrounding Mk.gee and this album. It's just good. Yeah, whether Mk.gee intended it or not, this album is very much, I wouldn't say derivative, but definitely heavily influenced by a lot of the great late 70s and 80s music to come out at that time, specifically nodding to the Doobie Brothers, Phil Collins, and Tears for Fears. At least that's what I hear. This album's great. Everyone knows it's great. It deserves all the glazing that it gets. And I guess with that being said, let's just move on to my number one. And finally, at my number one, we got the angriest album to come out of this year, and that would be Knocked Loose's You Won't Go Before You're Supposed To, which is kind of funny considering that this year has been overall positive for me. So to have an angry album like this would be a grand misrepresentation for how my year went. But hey, you know, we all need a fucking kick to the face sometimes. Yeah, this is 100% Knocked Loose's best work to date. You know, it's an attack on all fronts and it just doesn't let up throughout the whole thing. The songwriting here is peak. The riffs and the breakdowns are even better than that. Yeah, and this thing is only 10 songs and it clocks into roughly a little bit around the 30-minute mark. So it doesn't overstay its welcome at all. My favorite among the bunch is Blinding Faith, but their other singles, Suffocate and Don't Reach For Me, are equally as heavy and impactful. And even the other cuts on the album, like Slaughterhouse 2, Piece by Piece, and Take Me Home, are just as important and heavy. Yeah, You Won't Go Before You're Supposed To is just pure adrenaline. It's my favorite heavy album to come out of this year. It's my most listened to album of this year, and therefore it is my favorite record to come out of 2024. Alrighty, yeah, that will do it for today and for this year. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And if you're like me and you're currently in school, good luck on your exams. And other than that, enjoy your holiday season with your loved ones. And we will be right back here next year in 2025. See ya.